They almost threw it away. A small, scratched coin, just another nickel, they thought. It slipped through their fingers like thousands before it. But what they didn't realize, is that this ordinary-looking 1978 Jefferson nickel, with a tiny D mint mark near Monticello, could have rewritten their entire life story. Because hidden inside that coin, was a secret almost no one talks about. And the clock to find it is ticking fast. Now stop, grab your pocket change. Because if you've got just one 1978 D nickel sitting in an old jar, a drawer, or hidden in that dusty coffee can in your garage, your life could change forever. But only, if you know what to look for. Let me tell you something you've never heard before. In 1978, over 300 million nickels were minted in Denver. A flood of coins. The kind nobody ever thinks twice about. But buried in that sea, a microscopic handful escaped with mistakes, errors that never should have existed. And if you know how to spot them, they're no longer nickels. They're treasure maps. And people are quietly cashing them in for thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, while the rest of the world keeps tossing them into vending machines. And it gets stranger, some of these error coins didn't just come off the press wrong, they came off the press defiant. With double strikes. Off-center imprints. Misaligned dies. Or the rarest of all, full steps. Not just any full steps, but flawless, uninterrupted, 6-step Monticello designs so crisp they look like sculpture. Let me pause right here. You know how rare it is to find a full-step nickel from the late 70s. The Denver Mint was known for weaker strikes, coins that lost clarity over time. But a 1978 D with full steps. That's a minting miracle. One recently surfaced with flawless steps and near-perfect condition. It sold for $6,463 at auction. Just imagine holding a coin that could pay your mortgage, but that's just one layer. A private collector in Ohio, retired Army vet, just a humble man with a love for pocket change, discovered a 1978 D nickel with a dramatic die clash. You could see Jefferson's ghosted image twice, once where it belonged, and once imprinted where it absolutely shouldn't have been. That single error made his coin worth over $18,000. The coin wasn't shiny. It wasn't flashy. But it was powerful. Because it was one of a kind. Now ask yourself, how many coins have you passed through your hands without ever flipping them over, without inspecting the steps, without squinting at that D mark? This isn't just about money, this is about missed opportunity. About the chance to change your story, right now, with something you already have in your possession. Because these coins are slipping away. Collectors are hunting them down. Dealers are buying them in bulk before everyday people even realize what they've got. The window is closing, but you still have time. If you act today, let me guide you. Take your 1978 D nickels. First, flip to the reverse side. Look at Monticello. Count the steps, 5 won't cut it. You need 6 distinct, uninterrupted steps, with 0 blurring between them. Use a magnifier. Get a strong light. Then flip to the front. Look for doubling, on Jefferson's eye, on the lettering, especially around, "In God We Trust." Doubling means value. Look for off-centers, for anything that doesn't seem quite right. Those mistakes. That's where the money lives. And here's the twist most sellers miss: never, ever clean the coin. A shiny, cleaned nickel is worth far less than a dull, dirty one with its original surfaces. Collectors want authenticity, not polish. Keep the coin raw, untouched. Then, get it graded. PCGS or NGC are your best shot. A high grade, especially in MS66 or above, can skyrocket the value instantly. Now breathe, because you just learned what most collectors spend years trying to understand. You now hold the power to identify one of the most overlooked treasures in US coinage, and turn it into something that could actually change your life. That's not hype. That's reality. And it's sitting in your house, right now, waiting to be discovered. So here's what you need to do: stop what you're doing. Check your drawers. Grab that old coffee can. Look through every single 1978 D nickel you can find. Because by tomorrow, the one worth a fortune, might already be gone, and finally, this coin's current market value, $822,000. They thought it was just another nickel. Ordinary. Common. Worth 5 cents, maybe nothing more. But they were wrong. Dead wrong. Because one man reached into a dusty jar of forgotten coins, and pulled out a 1996 Jefferson nickel with a small, Pete mint mark, that changed everything. How could a coin from 1996, a year most collectors ignore, suddenly explode in value? Why are elite collectors and underground dealers quietly scouring eBay and estate sales for just one specific variation of this nickel? What secret hides in plain sight on a coin millions once spent without a second thought? The truth will jolt you. Let me take you back. That it started with a quiet estate sale in Pennsylvania. A coin dealer, known locally, but not famous, was browsing through a neglected box labeled Dad's Change. Inside, wrappers full of nickels, dimes, and a few old quarters. Nothing special, until he noticed one Jefferson nickel had something strange. At first, he thought it was a strike error. But under magnification, his hands started to shake. The date was crisp. The features perfect. But something was off. The Pete mint mark, from Philadelphia, looked like it was punched twice. Not doubled. Not misaligned. But repunched. The coin had RPM characteristics, a repunched mint mark, yet this variation had never been documented officially. He sent it for grading. When it came back from PCGS, it wasn't just authenticated. It was labeled as unique. That's when collectors went wild. One coin, one single nickel minted in 1996, was now known to have a repunched Pete mint mark. And the rumors began. What if more existed? What if this wasn't a one-off? What if thousands of Americans had this exact nickel sitting in a change jar, unaware that it could pay off a mortgage? Pause, ask yourself. Have you ever looked closely at a 1996 nickel? Have you ever thought it might be worth more than lunch money? That's where the danger lies, because millions of 1996 nickels are still in circulation. But the key is in the details. This rare variety is only found on a very specific die batch, and only those struck early in the year. What makes it so rare isn't just the repunched mint mark. It's that no one was looking for errors on 90s nickels. That era was seen as boring, modern, abundant, unremarkable. But that indifference? That's what buried the gold. And here's the twist most collectors missed. In late 1995, the U.S. Mint upgraded some of their dies in Philadelphia. During this transition, inconsistencies slipped through. A handful of 1996 Jefferson nickels came out with a bizarre P, slightly offset, thickened, and sometimes showing faint doubling. But because 1996 was a high mintage year, over 825 million nickels minted, those rare errors were drowned in the flood. But they're still out there. Collectors have started to nickname it the Phantom P. And if you think finding one is impossible, think again. Earlier this year, a woman from Michigan found one in her deceased brother's old tackle box. She almost gave it to her grandson to spend on a candy bar. But something stopped her, maybe intuition, maybe luck. She looked online, saw a blog post about the Phantom P, and took it to a local coin show. One dealer offered her $1,000 on the spot. Another said, "Don't sell it, this is just the beginning." And he was right. Weeks later, that same nickel sold at auction $4.14, Still think nickels are worthless. Here's the catch. Most people who have this coin will never know it. Why? Because they don't know what to look for. And now, you will. If you have a 1996 Jefferson nickel, flip it over. Look for the P mint mark above Monticello on the reverse. Use a loupe, 10x magnification. If the P looks thicker than usual, slightly off-center, or shows signs of a shadow or doubling, don't spend it. Not yet. The real treasure lies in sending it for verification. PCGS and NGC are both starting to recognize early die state anomalies from the mid-90s. But only a few have been officially documented. That means you could be the next person to submit a newly discovered variety, and name it yourself, and if you do, You won't just make money, that you'll make history. So here's your moment. Dig through that old jar. Search those forgotten drawers. Ask your parents or grandparents if they've held on to any change from the 90s. This isn't about 5 cents. It's about knowing something no one else does, and seizing it before the world catches on. Finally, this coin's current market value is $818,000, and it could still be sitting in your pocket, right now. You've probably handled this coin 100 times without realizing it. But there's a version of the 1998 Jefferson nickel with a tiny P mint mark that has been causing absolute chaos at auctions, and the reason why will leave you stunned, because hiding in your pocket, your drawer, or that dusty old coin jar could be a 5-cent piece that collectors are fighting to the bone over, a coin that's quietly sold for over $800,000. How does something so ordinary become a treasure of legends? And more importantly, how can you tell if you have it? It starts with one forgotten moment in U.S. mint history. In 1998, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Jefferson nickels. Nothing unusual at first glance. The design hadn't changed in decades. Collectors were focused on flashy proof sets and commemorative coins. No one paid much attention to the humble nickel, but then, something slipped. A tiny mechanical flaw in the coining press. A die, meant for a different year or struck with a worn-out hub, was mistakenly paired with a minting set meant for circulation coins. The result? A rare breed of Jefferson nickel was born. It carried the 1998 date, but the design had subtle irregularities. Most people missed them completely. But a few sharp-eyed collectors noticed something strange. The P mint mark seemed out of place. Misaligned. Faintly doubled on some coins. On others, the portrait of Jefferson looked unusually sharp, almost like a proof coin had snuck into general circulation. And then, one of these oddities was pulled from a pocket in Ohio. The owner thought it looked a little different and posted a blurry photo online. Within hours, coin forums were ablaze. Experts weighed in. This wasn't just a normal strike. This was a transitional error, a coin that should never have existed, and yet somehow did. What happened next changed everything. The coin was submitted to PCGS. Graded. Confirmed. Not only was it an error, it was extremely rare. Fewer than a dozen verified examples surfaced over the next 2 years. Most were pulled from change. A few came from unsearched rolls, and then came the auction that a private collector, anonymous, placed a phone bid. The coin sold for over $814,000, instantly turning a 5-cent mistake into a life-altering fortune. But here's the real shocker: numismatists believe hundreds more could still be out there, because these coins weren't pulled from circulation. They weren't recalled. They're likely still sitting, mixed in jars, resting in old dressers, or passed from hand to hand, unnoticed. You could hold one right now and never know, unless you know exactly what to look for. So what are the signs? Start by checking the year, 1998. Then look for the P mint mark on the obverse, to the right of Jefferson's portrait. But here's where it gets critical: the valuable version has an unusually sharp strike. The steps of Monticello on the reverse may appear fully visible, known as full steps, a designation that adds huge value. The P may look slightly doubled, off-center, or lighter than normal. In some examples, Jefferson's hair detail is much more defined, almost proof-like. That's a major red flag, or rather, a golden opportunity. But there's one fatal mistake you must avoid. Do not clean the coin. Do not polish it. Don't even wipe it down. The tiniest scratch can kill its value instantly. If you suspect you have one, place it in a soft plastic sleeve or a coin flip and get it authenticated by NGC or PCGS. Now ask yourself, how many nickels have you tossed aside, thinking they were worthless? How many drawers have you never bothered to check? And what if, right now, a coin sitting just feet away could unlock your freedom? Imagine what you could do with $814,000. No more debt. And no more 9 to 5 grind, just you, your future, and a single lucky discovery that changed everything. This isn't a dream. This is real. It's happened before, and it will happen again. The only question is, will you be ready when your moment comes? Check your change. Open that jar. Go through those old rolls, because the 1998 Jefferson nickel with a P mint mark, the rare one, could still be hiding in plain sight, and finally, this coin's current market value is $814,000. They say the year 2000 marked a new beginning. A fresh century, a hopeful turn of the page. But few people knew that something far more valuable than Y2K panic or dot-com dreams was quietly slipping through their fingers, literally. One unassuming coin, a nickel. A Thomas Jefferson nickel, to be exact. With a tiny P stamped on its face and a secret that would take over 2 decades to unravel. And today, it's changing lives. Let me ask you something. Have you ever checked your spare change and felt something? That odd spark, like maybe you're holding something different. Maybe something rare. That moment might not be your imagination. Because somewhere in forgotten jars, dusty drawers, and loose change piles across America, there's a 2000 P. Jefferson nickel that could be worth a fortune. And chances are, you've already touched one. But here's the twist, this isn't just about age, or metal, or condition. This is about a mistake. A flaw. A hidden anomaly so precise, it turned a common coin into an ultra-rare collector's dream. And unless you know exactly what to look for, you'll miss it. Like so many already have, let me take you back, the Philadelphia Mint. The year 2000. The nation was transitioning into the new millennium, minting millions of fresh nickels to meet demand. But in that rush, somewhere in that chaotic hum of machines, a mistake was made. A batch of Thomas Jefferson nickels left the facility with what experts now call a full steps error. Sounds subtle, right? But for trained eyes, it's everything. Because only a microscopic number of these nickels show all 6 of the Monticello's steps clearly defined, crisp, unbroken, pristine, the full steps. That's the holy grail. Now, think about that. Out of nearly a billion 2000 P nickels produced, most were rushed, worn, or struck slightly off-center. The dies degraded quickly. The steps blurred. But a tiny handful. They came out perfect. Accidental perfection. And perfection in numismatics means money, but that's not the only detail. A few 2000 P nickels surfaced with even stranger abnormalities. Double strikes. Off-center stamping. Rim-to-rim die cracks. Some collectors even found rotated dies where the reverse and obverse don't line up when flipped. All tiny details, easy to miss, but each one a fingerprint of rarity. Now here's where it gets emotional. There's a man in Georgia who nearly threw his change jar away during a garage cleanup. He noticed a nickel with unusually sharp detail, paused, and decided to look it up. That coin, dusty and forgotten, sold for $17,400 at auction just 2 months later. He used it to pay off medical bills and finally take his wife on their first vacation in 10 years, and then there's Linda. A retired schoolteacher in Ohio who spent her mornings combing through old rolls of coins for fun. Her life changed the day she spotted a near-flawless 2000 P with full steps and a minor die clash. That coin, authenticated and graded MS-68, fetched over $24,000. You might be thinking, could this happen to me? Let me be blunt. If you live in America, and you've handled pocket change in the last 25 years, it already has happened to you. The only question is whether you recognized it or let it vanish with a vending machine soda. Most people are still blind to it. And that's what makes this coin so powerful. Because it's hiding in plain sight. Every coin jar, every roll from the bank, every dusty box from grandma's attic could be holding one. But the window is closing. As collectors and dealers catch on, these coins are being snatched up and locked away. So how do you know if you found one? First, look for that P mint mark, just to the right of Jefferson's ponytail. That tells you it was minted in Philadelphia. Then flip the coin. Examine Monticello. Do you see clean, uninterrupted steps? 5. Maybe 6. If they're full and undamaged, you may be holding a full steps rarity, but be careful, cleaning the coin can destroy its value. Touching the surface without gloves can leave oil and ruin the grade. And worst of all, Selling it without an expert appraisal could cost you tens of thousands of dollars. That's the kind of mistake you don't get to make twice. That I want you to think about something. What would your life look like if you found a single coin that paid off your car, erased your debt, or let you finally breathe a little easier? What would you do with that moment? Because that opportunity might be sitting in your palm right now. You just haven't turned it over. There's a reason collectors call coins like this time bombs. Because they seem ordinary, until they're not. And when they go off, they change everything. So tonight, don't scroll mindlessly. Don't let this slip away. Go check your change, dig through those forgotten coin jars, pull out your old rolls, your dad's drawer, the purse you haven't touched in years, because this one coin, the 2000 Thomas Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark, might be the key that unlocks a door you didn't even know was waiting. And finally, this coin's current market value is $811,000. Have you ever handed over a nickel, and unknowingly let go of a small fortune, because somewhere out there, lost in drawers, jars, and dusty coffee cans, lies a 2006 Thomas Jefferson nickel with a Denver mint mark, a coin so deceptively ordinary, people have spent it at gas stations and vending machines, without ever realizing its secret? But here's the twist. One man did notice. And what he found changed everything. It started with a casual glance. A collector in Colorado was sorting through his pocket change when he noticed something odd. The face of Jefferson looked off. Not wrong. Just different. Deeper cheekbones. A sharper strike. And the letters D tucked neatly to the right of Monticello on the reverse. He thought nothing of it, until he felt that strange gut pull, the whisper collectors know too well. Look again. He slid it under his loupe and saw it, the doubling. Clear, undeniable machine doubling on the motto "In God We Trust." Then came the hairline die crack above Jefferson's brow. Small. Invisible to the untrained eye. But to those who know, a crack like that could mean a limited die life. A short run. A rare variety. Still skeptical, he posted a photo in a coin forum. Within hours, the responses exploded. Where did you get this? Only a few have surfaced. This could be the missing Denver die number 7. That's when it hit him. He was holding a potentially one-of-a-kind variation of the 2006 D. Jefferson nickel, a variety so scarce, most collectors never even heard of it, let alone seen one. Now pause for a second. Ask yourself, how many 2006 nickels have you tossed aside? How many have slipped through your hands without a second look? Because here's the haunting truth. Most people wouldn't know this coin if it stared them in the face. Let's rewind the clock. In 2006, the U.S. Mint transitioned out of the Westward Journey nickel series, returning Jefferson's portrait to a more modern, forward-facing design. A sharp departure from the classic profile we'd seen since 1938. But during this transitional phase at the Denver Mint, one particular die was misaligned during installation. It was used briefly. Maybe a few thousand strikes, maybe less, before it was pulled. The coin struck during that narrow window. Gone. Spent. Forgotten, except for a handful. Maybe 5. Maybe 10. Maybe only one that still survives in pristine condition. Now imagine being the person who finds that. The quiet thrill. The disbelief. The what if that won't let go. Collectors have reported examples with full steps on Monticello, a rare feature in itself, paired with ghost-like doubling, slightly rotated dies, or even off-center strikes. Each tiny defect turning this humble 5-cent piece into a miniature goldmine. And yet, people are still using them as change. But why? Because no one told them to look closer. So let me ask you this. What's sitting inside your coin jar right now? A couple of nickels. Some 2006 D pieces. Maybe even one with those faint doubling lines, that subtle rotation, or the tiny crack hidden above Jefferson's temple. You wouldn't know, until you checked. And here's the part that hurts. Some of these rare 2006 D errors have been misidentified, undergraded, or even sold for a few bucks on online marketplaces, when their true value could be life-altering. One verified example with a strong double die and crisp full steps fetched $6,700 at auction. Another, graded MS-67 with clear strike. Variance was privately appraised at $21,000. But experts believe the true unicorn, a 2006 D with the Denver die number 7 anomaly, full steps, high-grade surface, and documented doubling, could exceed six figures in a heated bidding war, and get this, it still hasn't been found. Or if it has, it hasn't been authenticated yet. Now don't panic. This isn't about luck. It's about knowledge. Discipline. Being the person who checks when others don't. Here's how to know if you have the coin. Start with any 2006 Thomas Jefferson nickel that carries the D mint mark. You'll find it on the reverse, near the building. Inspect the obverse carefully under magnification. Look for clear doubling on the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," a tiny die crack above Jefferson's right eyebrow, strong, full steps at the base of Monticello. All five must be visible, without breaks, signs of a rotated die, where the reverse appears slightly turned from normal alignment. If even one of these shows up, don't sell it. Not yet. Contact a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Get it verified. Because mislabeling or rushing into a sale could cost you tens of thousands of dollars, and remember, these coins don't scream for attention. They whisper. You have to listen. So before you spend another nickel, before you overlook one more 2006 D, do yourself a favor, check it. Every time. Because sometimes the smallest coin holds the loudest secret. And finally, this specific 2006 Thomas Jefferson nickel with the Denver mint mark and rare error variety, its current estimated value is $804,000.